All right, guys. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Own Your Life podcast. I am Coach Mike here with Coach Jonathan,
What's up?
hanging out. Hey, today we wanted to talk to you guys about our core values at OYL. So we are a gym. We definitely care about working out and other things, but what we've done is behind the scenes and all the way above that is set up some core values within our business. This helps us make business decisions. This helps us make decisions about our workouts or how to run things, and even for us, especially Jonathan and I, this is where they came from, but these bleed over into our personal lives a lot as well. And they actually came from that as well. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to take a chance and share those with you guys and what those really meant to us on a deeper level, rather than just putting a sticker on a wall or just putting it in an email. We wanted to give you guys a fuller explanation and kind of what they meant to us there. So I'll lead us off just with our three core values are effort, excellence, and empathy. So we're going to start right now. We're going to start with the core value of effort. That's our first one. That's our baseline and how we want to start everything with. So we're going to start here and we'll work our way through it. Jonathan, what is our definition of effort in OYL words?
We define effort as a vigorous and determined attempt. And just for clarification, I'm reading from a document that we use that it starts with values and then goes down. So like these are the things that we start with, make decisions by, understand like what we're trying to achieve, setting objectives, even just how we do things in the gym. Like these are like the baseline. So like the first one, effort, is first for a reason. Like I said, the definition is a vigorous and determined attempt. I have some things, like some descriptive phrases written out for like to describe this, because like Mike was saying, like values go beyond like the coaching of a class. Like we coach a fitness class, a CrossFit class, and we try to deliver on that class like an experience plus improvement plus investing in your health, like all of that. But above that, like there are things that guide decisions. And so that's what a value is. So effort, like for us, so we believe in giving our best effort, knowing at first it may be bad or hard. So when we talk about effort, like it's very hard to make any type of decision unless you know what type of effort that you are putting into it. So the simple one we start with is like attending class. Like we do the sprint to 30, which is when someone signs up with us. Our goal is like, let's get to 30 check-ins. Whatever is sustainable and doable for you. So for some person, that might be 3 days a week. For some person, that might be 5. It'll take you a different amount of weeks, but the goal is like, hey, the baseline effort is showing up. We'll take care of everything else. Your effort in the first 30 check-ins is getting to the gym for a class time a certain amount of times a week until you get to 30. If we don't do that, it's very hard to say like if something works or doesn't, or if it's, like right for you or whatever. And a lot of people struggle with the baseline efforts. But when we start to say like, hey, this is a value, like we need to like value effort. It gives us a context to come up with like numbers, like attendance numbers or whatever compliance or doing the thing looks like. And that's what we start with. And we understand at first, like, it may be hard. It may feel strange because it's different than what we're normally doing.
And we want to start with effort too, because if we don't have this baseline, then we can't figure out some of the other stuff. If we start, or at least this is our interpretation and why we've listed it first, is that if we start focusing on excellence, we'll go through full definitions later, but if we start with focusing on excellence or empathy, or we've had other core values in the past, and this has evolved over time. But if we start with some of those other ones, but we aren't putting in the effort to actually make it happen, then they can turn into just words or just posters or whatever. And that's a struggle that I have coming from whether it's just internships or, I did work as an engineer prior to owning a gym. Like as I was at some of these companies, they did a good job of having powwows and putting it on posters, but I can't say that on a daily basis, those are the words I would have used to describe my boss or my coworkers or the company as a whole. And so for us, one of the most baseline level things to do as a human is to put in effort towards something. again, we define it as a vigorous and determined attempt. That does tend to be focused. I know there's a focus point of this one too. It's not just spraying effort everywhere, but it's actually determined. There's some specific place we're going. But that's why I like effort first, is because without effort, you're just, like I said, you're just spewing stuff everywhere. But effort is the actual like underlying base layer, bottom of the pyramid for us on the way that we build these core values.
And that's like hustle culture, grind culture, like just do more, like just do more. That becomes problematic because like it's energy input, but it's not necessarily effort in a certain direction with parameters. And so like the second one is, without first giving effort, we cannot understand how to improve or where to go. So like we do need to figure out where that effort's going to go and then define it. And then it's the application of the effort in that direction that tells us if something's working or not. Like it's very difficult when someone says, hey, this thing isn't working, and they haven't done the effort in the basic inputs that we've seen, and you can use this for any system. You know, we're talking about fitness and health. It can be a business, it can be personal. It doesn't matter. Like if you're going to a coach and you're like, hey, I need help with something. We're like, okay, cool. Here's what we're going to do. We got to do it long enough to know if it's working. And so when we talk about effort, like there is a narrowing of focus of where that energy is going as well. And so that's like Mike's saying, it's like, we're not just like doing stuff. We're saying, okay, cool. This is kind of the direction we want to go. Let's first put effort in what we see as the baseline things. And then from that, you know, that's how we know if something's working or if it's going in the right direction.
The other thing with effort, so we want to start with effort too, but there's also an ending with effort as well that I like. And so starting with it as the baseline is the first place we're going. But as we go through the rest of our core values and, you know, you determine some of these baseline attempts and all that, that's the other thing, is by the end of it, when you're really singularly focused and you know exactly what you're aiming for, then you can sprinkle on the work harder type stuff. But if you start with hustle culture and just, you only sleep 4 hours a night because you only sleep 4 hours a night because you're supposed to be working all the time, or you know, you do a ton of workouts, but you don't fuel, and I don't know, like all this hustle culture stuff, like you're also missing the boat. So we want to rewind it all the way back to what's the most basic thing that I can do to move me forward, and then I'm putting effort into that one. And so at the gym, we talk about showing up to class. This is also one of my favorite principles in my personal life, whether it's with family or work or relationships or elsewhere, is the concept of just show up. And so, I mean, we've probably heard this, but it's worth saying a million times over. Your kids don't remember like the exact things, like the exact gifts or stuff you got them, or like all this stuff. Like they just remember that you did show up. And that's kind of the principle here, is it doesn't like, yeah, you're going to take them to, like I took James to the library a week or two ago and he screamed the whole time, even though he loves books and will read books for 30 straight minutes as a 2-year-old in his room. He's fine. Took him to the library. He screamed the whole time, which is really embarrassing. But like the principle is like I was spending time with him. And so like whether he officially remembers that or not, he's going to remember that his dad hung out with him on a regular basis. And so it matters less about what we do, and it matters more that we're there and showing up for them. So that's a great family example. I think of that one all the time. It's that I'm present, and that I have like effort in being present, and that I have energy when I'm being present to put the effort into being present. Not just, oh, let's just go on a family vacation once a year and that'll make up for the other 51 weeks where I wasn't really showing up that much, or they were secondary. So that's one of my other favorite principles underneath this umbrella of effort, is to just show up. That's the family example. The gym example we talked about, but same thing for work. Like if you're not putting in, and John was talking about, like if you're not putting in the effort at work or the effort into certain like variables and parameters, you don't know how to make decisions after that. So you have to do at least, again, the baseline level thing is that I have to put in effort in order to even know if this thing works.
And when you get into work and career, really what you're usually talking about is like best practices. And so like if you're getting coaching or advice from somebody and they know how to help you get from where you are to where you want to be, like they want to, a good coach will start you with like the basic things that are lined up with where you want to go. And so if you're not doing those, it's hard to say if the results you're getting are accurate. So like if someone's not happy with results of like being coached or like participating in some sort of program, or something that they're doing for some sort of improved result, if you're not doing the baseline best practices that are prescribed as they're prescribed, it's actually undercutting of that coach to tell them that you're frustrated because you're not getting results. It's the effort that's missing. And so like it can create like this paradigm where you're looking at someone thinking, oh, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. But like you can't even, like, you don't really have permission to say that unless you actually did what they told you to do. Because almost any coach, like, they want their clients to have success in some way. So it's like, so that's another way to think about it. Like in career and business, like, normally like you have certain type of measurable outcomes you're looking for, and there's pathways that you have. And so like if you want to move down that pathway, if you find out there's certain best practices that lead down that, but you're not applying those, then that's the baseline effort that's not happening. And so when we talk about effort, we're saying, hey, like, we understand there's like a million things flying around trying to grab your attention. Like, we want to narrow it down and be like, okay, let's do these things. Yes, it may be difficult because, you've got 3 kids and you're married. And so working out has to be done at 5 a.m. or it has to be done at 6 p.m. on your way home from work. Like, it may be difficult at first, but let's just focus on that. Like, don't worry about what the workout is. Don't worry about like looking up anything more about working out or looking up supplements, or just take all that off your plate and simply have the effort of like, let's show up to the gym, like let's create certain tracking of data in your business or career that shows you whether or not you're growing and improving or not. Like, let's find those, and then let's just it's even all like a choice of where we put our attention too. So it's not just like the actions; it's also this idea of like, I'm going to really see if this works, And then it was interesting, Mike, you're saying about taking James to the library. The last little piece here says, we are not afraid of making mistakes or trying. In fact, we invite mistakes because it means we are attempting something rather than sitting back and being okay with the status quo. So like taking James to the library, like you're trying something that you see he likes a thing. And even though it doesn't necessarily go well, it doesn't mean it was a bad thing. But sometimes people would be like, oh, that didn't work the way I thought, that was bad. It's like, no, like, I know the pathway I'm trying to go. I'm looking for opportunities to relate to my son and things that are important to him. Just because that's how that day went doesn't mean that it was a bad effort. And that's an important piece of feedback as well.
Yeah, because if you're never failing, I don't love this phrase, but you guys understand the concept. But like, it's like, if you're not failing, you're not trying. Like that's part of this, or the flavor of this effort thing that we want to talk about too. Like, if you never put yourself in situations to fail, or let's take the word fail out, but you're never even putting yourself in situations to be challenged, then like, how are we supposed to be growing? And again, our analogy is the gym because that's what we do, but nutrition as well. Like, if you're not putting yourself out there that requires this effort, like, we're probably not growing, we're probably not being better. And so that's actually a sign. I'm not saying that if you fail all the time, that's a sign, it's a good sign, but time to time, I'll just make up a number, but if 10% of the time it doesn't work out the way you planned on it, or 20% of the time, maybe that's good. Maybe you are actually challenging yourself in terms of the weights that you were using in a workout, or the time you were trying to get within a workout, or the example of, taking your kids to a different place or something, a different activity, or whatever that is for you. If you're not like living on like the outside, not red line, but like, if you're not pushing yourself and living on the outside of your comfort zone, then like that comfort zone's never going to expand.
Yeah, it's really about us becoming. It's about us upgrading who we are, and without those types of scenarios, we will kind of stay the same. But the problem with the ultimate problem with like a lack of growth, especially like with us as people, is like, it doesn't require any more input from us. And like, if you really get down to like things that are important, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, those require consistent input. So if you're going to be putting inputs in, you might as well put ones in that help you grow and make sure that they set you up for future success. So like, it's kind of like working out. Like a lot of people are like, man, I don't have time, or like, I don't have energy or whatever. But it's like, we know the science is the science. We know that like if you train and you eat better, you'll feel better, sleep better, and probably perform better in almost every area of your life. So like, rather than just like maintaining what you have, thinking like, well, I guess I'm okay. Like life feels okay. Like my health is okay. I don't need to work out, or I don't have time, or whatever. If you would just simply challenge yourself to increase the effort that you put into your health, like it would probably dramatically change every part of your life from now on. But you have to say, like, I'm willing to put that effort in. I want to grow. I don't just want to like be the same for the rest of my life.
Before we had decided on these as our core values, one of our previous iterations used the word consistency, or consistent, depending on how we used it. And I sometimes in my head I marry the two together, and we talk about like consistent effort too, because this isn't a 100% effort one day and then 50% the next day, so we average out to 75% effort. This is a continuous effort over the course of time, and that's what we meant when we talked about previously, like when we had the core value of consistency. Like that's what we talked about. Was it wasn't necessarily how big or ginormous your effort was. It was that it was consistent effort. So again, you could get a baseline and actually know if you were improving. Another word, as Jonathan's been talking, but another word that I might use, and not instead of, but very similar to the word effort, is we also want to think of it like the word habit. And that's how I was really relating to it. It's like the habit of showing up, or the habit of nutrition. Because if we don't have the habit of eating 4 meals a day, like it doesn't matter if we're tweaking organic this or this many macros this way. Like if I can't even put in the effort to consistently hit any macro count that any coach told me, why does it matter if I'm finding the exact best coach for this thing? Right now, a good coach can guide you through some of that, but like it doesn't matter if you do CrossFit or jiu-jitsu or Orange Theory, or you work it on your own in the garage, or you run. Like it doesn't matter what you do with any of those. None of those programs are going to work if you do them only once a week for the next year. None of them are designed that way. And I mean, there isn't a program designed that way. All of those programs rely on the fact that you need multiple times per week. Now, then it starts to vary if we're talking maybe 3 to 5 or 6 or 7. And I do think CrossFit's a little bit more potent, and you can get more, and you can, work with it, and you have more back-to-back days. And that's why we do CrossFit. But like none of these programs work if you do it once a week. So it has to be a consistent effort over a period of time. It's a habitual effort. Maybe there's the tie of it, but it's a habitual effort over a period of time for me to actually say, yes, you put in effort for it. You putting in effort today, I'm excited for it, but I'm still waiting. I'm waiting for weeks, and I'm waiting for months worth of effort before I'm really celebrating, because that's where I know stuff can actually happen.
Mm-hmm. And then that's where we lead to the second one. It gives us the ability to pursue excellence in those efforts.
Yeah, and we'll kind of close it out here, and we're just going to separate these episodes so we have a clean break. But again, we'll say it one more time. Effort is like that baseline level. If we don't have the habitual effort, something that I can measure, something that I'm aware of, the habit of showing up to class, the habit of nutrition, the habit of showing up in my family's life, or the habit of doing what my boss says at work, or the habit of reading, or whatever it is. If I don't have that baseline effort level, then it doesn't matter how 1% better I get, or doesn't matter how much I chase excellence or work on that top tier, top 1% type stuff. If you're only focused on the 1%, so you're chasing rabbits. We got to focus on the base layer, which is effort. All right, we'll call it there for right now. We're going to hit pause. We'll be back either next week for you guys, or depending on where you're watching, but we'll be back next time. We're going to talk about excellence.